Yes, yes.
Call the meeting to order. Please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
There's Caucus.
Here, are the microphones on?
Yes.
They're on. Hello? Hello? They're on.
Mayor
It's not recorded.
Caucus.
Here.
Mr. Runnemede.
Here.
Mrs. Moore. Yes. Mr. Farrell.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Present.
Mr. Wood.
Here.
Mr. Basil.
Here.
And Mr. Roy.
Here. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. One, posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office on January 6, 2015. And two, emailed to the retrospect Courier Post on January 6, 2015. New business. Public hearing 1509, bond ordinance. Rich, you want to clarify that one? Which one was that?
That is the sewer.
That's the sewer improvement, okay. That's just a reformation of what we've already done. Proclamation Tourette Syndrome Awareness Day, that's next month. We have a thank you note from Bob Scott for flowers that we sent in, a discussion of bond orders for the purchase of buildings. Is there any update on that? You want to update us on the bond ordinance for the purchase of the buildings? We need an update.
We'll have something for the meeting.
Which meeting? Third? We will have a
Yes.
first reading?
You said that the deadline is to have it paid by the end of.
Yeah, what is our exact time frame? I mean, we gave a date because of like the typical closing of July 31st. We don't meet necessarily on July 31st. Well, we have a meeting,
You don't have to, you just need to have the money.
But was there a closing? I mean, we'll go to a physical closing, we'll sign papers. Does council just?
Everything passed, I mean, it's all clear.
Yeah, well,
That's good.
we get the letters coming,
Yeah, so so the only contingency is the,
tenants are out.
and that you have the money, and then once those contingencies are met here, so we just.
Yeah, he gives us clear environmental letters, clear title.
Yeah, no, I've heard nothing from the other person. Bob has done pretty much what he needs to do, and the other person has done nothing. I've written once already again, which I explained to them that this closing is not taking place until you do what you're supposed to
They
do.
have to submit their letter.
So clear environmental being from who?
Comes from the sellers.
The
And
seller-
who's the person that picked for them to go in and say it was okay?
No, it's their obligation is to show us.
Okay. Are we gonna do an inspection?
Yeah, we're still doing our inspections, you know, and then,
That's my big-
we're doing ours as our own due diligence. But they're required based on our agreement of sale, they're supposed to give us something before we even really show up.
Yeah, well, we're doing whatever we're doing. We may be looking at things that a standard issue is not going to look at, which is perfectly okay, legitimate. But, you know, and it may well be that all they have to do is write it and the park price patent says, you know, it's not applicable to this property, and that's okay. I just want something.
Right.
For you.
And then this is probably put the cart before the horse, since we haven't really officially done this, I guess, but, like, are we gonna strip this building of anything that's valuable?
I don't believe so, I think that in our agreement of sale, we allow the sellers to take anything out that they want as long as the property's still secure. So I think the one gentleman's gonna take maybe the kitchen cabinets out or
I'm
something.
talking about like piping.
I don't think it's necessarily worth it for us to go in there, I mean, I don't think we have the, but we talked about.
What are we, is it ultimately what you're doing is raising these
Yes.
properties?
Yes, correct.
So, you know, you're gonna hire a guy to do that.
We'll hire a demolition
And
company
either
to
you're gonna.
recycle, to reclaim.
Okay.
Is that the way to do it?
That's what I'm thinking.
So you wouldn't send Public Works to do
No,
it?
I wasn't even
Now,
thinking.
you'll hire a company, come in, they'll reclaim it, they'll take everything out.
Prior to
They'll take
demolition.
windows out, they'll take metal out, and then when they tear it down, they separate it as to reclaim it, so, you know,
Okay.
if they're- they'll
That's
make,
what I'm-
they'll make
that's
money
what I
on
was
it,
looking
you know.
for. Thank you.
It's gonna be part of the bid, that they're gonna make that money on reclaiming.
On the recycle.
Yeah.
Sure, that's,
And-
as long as it gets reset.
And environmentally, we really don't have too much to worry about, because we don't have to do like a phase one or a phase two, because in the EPA is, worst case scenario, is put a parking lot over it. So if that's our goal, put a parking lot over it, no matter how bad this soil is, the EPA is gonna let us put a parking lot over it.
Well, I wasn't even concerned with so much with the soil.
Yeah,
as
well,
much as
they'll let us
asbestos.
always put a parking lot over it. no matter
That's
what.
one of the things.
So playgrounds, put a parking lot.
But this letter is for a letter that we're getting, it's supposed to protect
So,
us.
I mean, like, I wasn't really involved in this process of doing all this, so I mean, that's why I've got a lot of questions. So my question is have we investigated how much it's gonna cost to dispose of this?
We did, we got one preliminary number, just a drive-by number, about like 115,000. We all thought that was kind of high. You know,
For demolition.
For demolition.
For
that was
demolition and disposal?
Yes, that was just a
How long
drive.
does it have to sit? Do any of these have basements? I don't even know. Do they have a
One
basement?
property has a basement.
How long's it gotta sit before we can, and settle, before we
Nothing,
can
when
pave it?
when you put the dirt back on, they compact it as you go, right?
There's gonna be so much work on that, on the property.
Who should you use to find this out?
The drive-by called Bill Harper up when he drove by for me, just to look at it. He didn't go into the
No,
buildings.
I'm just
You know,
curious.
and I think Bill wanted to make sure that if we were gonna bond money, that we would bond enough to pay for demoing. I think we had talked that there's many other companies out there to do it, and I think we even had, you even came up with a number, you thought it was much less than that. You know, but once again, we're government, so it costs more money, we're
Sure.
gonna require more things, so we're gonna pay a premium.
Definitely gonna be in the bid zone.
It's gonna be in the bid zone, it's over the 36,000. So, and just being in the bid zone, you
Pat
got.
tore down the building at the,
No,
R1.
oh my gosh, are we kidding? Like, I
Up
know
and blew
you're-
up.
I know you're kidding. No, but have we talked to anybody about like having plans?
You know, at this point, we had one preliminary meeting, which Ms. Pinto started basically, was to talk about how securing the front clerk's office. And that's kind of morphed into the idea that if we're gonna secure the clerk's office, it starts to turn everything around and say, okay, well, if you're gonna have a parking lot now, and you wanna secure the clerk's office, does that affect where the front door is? You know, because now, if you're gonna close this off, now you're gonna have parking over here. You know, we're gonna have handicap parking there, which changes the police parking, because now the police might be able to park closer to their area, because you don't need handicap spots over there. So all these moving parts are coming together, and if anything, what we've learned from our very minimum conversations is we have to have a lot more conversations.
Okay.
Because there's so many moving parts, the ADA compliance, and as Mr. Wright likes to make fun of me, we're not gonna do a build design instead of a design build.
Well, I just want, like, I'm saying, like, for the residents alone, like, let's show them, like, when Green Acres was done, Green Acres was done as part of the project of the Green Acres project, which really Beaver Branch.
Beaver Branch,
part of it,
right, yeah.
You know, but still, Green Acres, for anybody that lives here,
Yeah.
it gave you a preliminary, like, here's the drawing, this is what it's anticipated, this is what, much like you did with the RY, like,
I
this is.
think
what
Mr.
we're gonna
Bayshore
do.
can elaborate a little bit, because I'm not part of it.
They're in that process. I've seen
That's
it
what
twice
I'm
with the
saying,
tape
'cause, you
measures,
know,
so.
you know the moment the wrecking ball hits it, everybody's gonna go.
Well, where are
what
we
do do
with
with it?
that preliminary starting point?
They did the field survey, and now they're doing the existing conditions plan, and we'll get back together and get everybody's thoughts on this.
That's all.
Yeah, 'cause I mean,
And
Rich has concerns about,
We authorized at the last council meeting was for them to do the write-ups on that. And I think that includes how the new parking lot ties in.
At that point, it had not really.
it thinks about it. It knows that
Thinks
the
about it.
door, it thinks about it, because one of the issues that was brought up, if you remember, was if we, by purchasing this property, you know how the entrance really becomes
Change, yeah.
First Avenue.
Yeah.
And then if you close that door off, that makes it easier for them to, you know, for the finance department to close their area. It just starts to make things,
And we also had done a concept plan a few years ago with putting an elevator in. So we want to try and tie all these ideas together. so-
because we still have no egress upstairs. We had no ADA accessibility upstairs. We had no egress to go up to, if there's a fire, there's supposed to be two means of getting out of that property. Right now, you gotta, do something dramatic to get out.
What about the, pathway?
Well, I think that's all going to tie in, because I think one of the conversations was, you know, the only thing we're married to is the elevation of the first floor. You know, we can't change that first floor. Then you come up, say 50, I keep thinking it's 54 inches, then you come up to what we call, say, ground floor, first floor, then you go up a good 10 feet, maybe more. Is it more than 10 feet to the second floor? Or, you know, so second floor, first floor, ground floor. I think they're looking at all this, but it's very preliminary.
It's not just gonna look like parking spots. Are we gonna make it look?
Well, we require in our planning board that you have to have landscaping, you have to have curbing.
Lighting,
You know, lighting.
Yes.
We force all our registrants,
Lighting.
residents,
Lighting.
residents,
Picture, choose, that's a good,
Choose Fire Department, they did a nice job.
that one looks, that's
Choose-
what they,
Yeah, Choose Fire Department did a very nice
maybe not
job.
to that degree, I mean, they do everything at the next
No,
level,
my
but.
past record.
So when will we have a concept of it?
So that's why I'm asking.
I would argue what we're trying to do here, and it was brought up by someone, might have been Mr. Wright, the idea is that when we purchased this building, things didn't get finished. You know, everything was kind of pieced together. You know, the upstairs never got finished. There was no access from the back. Now that the DOT took our front parking spaces, that changed the entrance. So I think the argument is, we're not just buying this parking lot, we're buying a parking lot that adds better entrance, that fixes the ADA compliance, that fixes, finishes the building, so that we have this space upstairs that we're not actually able to use.
Well, when will we get a concept drawing?
We're going to get an existing conditions plan within the next 2 weeks, I would say, and then we're going to get another, and then get my retail.
So 2 weeks, we'll have at least an idea. They heard, it started like I said, Joyce is concerned, how do we protect the finance area? How do we secure it so it's not open? And then everything else goes from there.
So maybe we're looking at a concept plan in a month?
But the pipe got redone.
1 month
It's
more?
like
That's
literally,
pushing
the
it.
wind, you're right out.
Oh, 6 weeks?
You're right out.
That's all the ideas.
We can work towards that.
But I mean, Eleanor, here's part of the issue. We settle at the end of July.
I know.
We close in July. The police department and the fire department, they want a little bit of access to the property
Yes,
to do
for
some
certain
training.
exercise.
As long as it doesn't cause us any problems, we allow them to do that. In that interim, we go out for bid for demo, right? We'll go out for bid, that takes a good month or two to have that, and then demo happens, so.
And that doesn't answer my question. When do we see a concept plan?
I would
Don't
say
do
3
drawings.
months.
Month. Yeah.
You're so far ahead of yourself, you were nowhere near concept. They're doing site survey. He's gotta get that done, is what he's doing
Yeah.
now.
3 months,
I'm just
3
making
months
sure that
before
we're
we
doing
see
it.
what it's gonna look
Wait a
like.
minute.
Well, yeah, but
Then,
it's a
then he's gonna come back and do, then he's gonna start to get input from people about what they like to see, okay? And it's gonna take time, it's not gonna happen in a month, I'm not doing your job for you.
No,
That's the
I just want to
reality.
make sure that my question isn't so much is when it's going to be, it's are we going to do
Yeah.
all of these
But
things?
you're gonna see
That's
it.
my question.
Because you collectively as the governing body are gonna see it, and whoever else you decide you may want to look at it,
Well, Freddie wanted to see it,
Yeah, of
the
course.
construction and code official,
Of course.
when we were upstairs, maybe windows, I mean, all these kinds of ideas are floating.
So this will take 3 months before this will happen.
Minimum, and remember, if we don't plan it well, it's gonna turn out wrong.
That's
Well,
it.
there's-
That is what all these questions are for me, is please plan it out.
If we don't plan it well, we're gonna end up with a bathroom scenario.
No, there's a lot
Where
of
it kept
questions,
evolving.
Because how far are we gonna go with phase one? That's where, that's the.
Phase one is purchase and demo.
So that's really as far as we were going.
So what he just said is the exact situation, like the bathroom scenario. How much did that change? How much did those bathrooms have? They got switched around and changed it 1,000 times.
A change order.
And- Steps may change the configuration of what we have to do and all those things.
Right.
So you can have an idea plan from the outside and look at it, but you can't get the internal mechanical.
No, and I'm not, my thing is, you know where I am. Let's
I think
make
this
sure
is
that the
more,
ducks
it's
are
made it
in
very
line.
clear to me that the fear is that it doesn't proceed. You know, Borough has a reputation sometimes of not finishing stuff.
And that's why we shouldn't put a rush date on everything.
But Eleanor's right too, though, there has to be an urgency, so there's an urgency.
On our
There's a-
part.
You know, both have to come
Takes
together.
time.
But we cannot have the bathroom scenario ever happen to us
No,
again.
well, that's what, and you were.
Well, a lot of that was because of the contractor that we had.
Well, the bathroom scenario evolved.
There were a lot of things that didn't get thought through.
That's
on
true.
that bathroom.
Security
But
issue.
That was 7 years ago.
You like,
Here's
you're,
10 years ago when it first became.
it was a concept
reality.
drawing in 2006 when
Right.
it started.
Right.
And if you look upstairs, the plan was 2008 when Phil Collins from Genesis gave us $500,000. He's there. The guy's name was Phil Collins.
Wow. I missed a lot.
Oh, look at that one.
I missed a good time.
And we just got reimbursed.
Yeah, we just got reimbursed. It took 7 years to get the money from the state. You're too nice.
Well,
Need to yell.
but I understand you want to keep it. We will. We'll keep it.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
No, and I agree with you, but
I've drawn it.
things keep coming up, Eleanor. You know, like Freddie's
You know, what I
concern.
like was,
Sketched it out.
when
I
Mike
see it
had a
in my head.
vision for the RY, he gave it to us almost right away. Mike, we didn't have to wait for.
There were a couple of revisions.
There were.
Oh,
But you
you
laid
can't
that
do
plan
that.
out. Michael, you laid that
Take
plan
offense.
out. You laid that plan out, so we
That's
all
what I'm
mine.
trying to say. Yeah, but they stick the cameras down there too. They got
One
TV.
dimensional.
That was a lot easier.
It's a much smaller.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is
there wasn't
way
a
larger
lot on
scale.
the line, that if we messed something up in the drawing, to change it, you know.
It was
This
flat
is,
with land, this is buildings coming in.
yeah,
The parking lot.
Well, let me give you an
this is something
example.
that we gotta take
We
care of.
designed the baseball field for the 7-year-olds. Was it the 7-year-olds or 6-year-olds? Well, the field, the fence went up, everything looked great. Kids started hitting the ball. They were hitting home runs every other So it was really exciting that they were hitting home runs, but then we were criticized that they're hitting home runs. Imagine that. We were getting criticized. So Mike, right, what did we do? We decided, move the fence back 15 feet. Now, moving a fence was what, a couple $1,000. We screw up on the location of an egress door.
Well, just the infrastructure, the drainage and all, stuff like that, you know.
There is a little bigger, that's what I think he's, is that what your point?
I think for the elevator to stop.
Please.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Wright, getting back on the discussion of bond orders for purchasing buildings. We're gonna start
We're doing well.
tomorrow, or next week.
The goal has been to get the budget adopted, which will happen tonight. So-
Okay.
And you can free up some
All
time.
right, so we'll free up. Okay, resolution 1587 is a resolution accepting the responsibility for the care and maintenance of certain landscaping and irrigation system. Is this the state one now?
No, this is the state one. I said next is your firstborn son.
Yes.
They're gonna want. Do you have somebody?
Everyone understands that the state and the county are making it very clear that we're responsible for that property
Yes.
after they're done.
Can I just read this since we're discussing it? I got this today, and it says NJDOT has reviewed the plans and verbally indicated that they were fine. They will not issue a formal letter of access permit until the maintenance approval with the borough and them is in order. Once they receive the resolution from the borough approving the maintenance agreement, we will forward it to them for their review. Assuming it meets with their approval, they will then issue the permit, and then we can finally move forward with it. And now it was originally pushed to try to be doing it now. Now they're saying, let's try to go for September, because you don't want to be planting flowers in the middle of the summer. I'm planting sod and everything else, so let's wait. And they're like, we should be trying for September, which is the best time. Ay, chihuahua.
You know, it's their language on the resolution, yeah.
We got this language.
Okay, so you're saying now, we finalize
We
this,
also
We
have-
they'll go
finalize
out
this,
in
we'll go
September.
out, and we'll have everything in
Well, they still have to go for
place.
bid, they don't have a contractor yet, do they?
No, they had one all set up from before. The first time it was a wording issue. No, the first time nobody bid on it. The second time it was a wording issue, so they had to throw them all out. Then they had to bid. This thing is jinxed. But it will get done in September. It will be planned to do it. in
The
September.
county already has their agreement,
Right.
signed agreement, everything done.
Okay, so we're the last piece.
Right.
No, this is an additional one. They want the state to say, well, now you have to tell us you're going to swear to do what you're doing for the county.
Okay.
Right. The county's happy, correct? The county's happy with what we've
As far
done.
as I
Now
know.
this is New
Last
Jersey.
piece. Okay, resolution 1588 is a resolution confirming 2015 appointments. We're gonna do this right now, so
This one has to be done now.
we're gonna do it. Oh, the county one has
The
to be
county
done.
has to be done.
Oh.
This has to be done
Oh,
now.
Why don't you go
okay,
through
okay, do the county.
all of it, and then we'll go back to the vote.
We can do, you wanna just vote on them as we go? All right, anybody wanna make a motion on resolution 1587?
I'll make a motion.
Second it. Motion by Ms. Kelly, second by Ms. Moore. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
And Mr. Root?
Yes.
5 ayes, 1 absent.
All right, resolution is adopted. So we can second. Resolution 1588 is a resolution confirming 2015 appointments. This is also an action item. This hires for the fire department Susan A. Dillard, part-time EMT, $12 per hour. Any discussion? Motion?
I so move.
Motion by Mr. Root, second by
Easier.
Mr. Ranieri.
That's my girl.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yeah.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
5 ayes, 1 absent.
All right, the resolution is
You're
adopted.
out of order.
Resolution 1589, resolution canceling unexpended balance of 2014 sewer fund emergency appropriation. I guess we're doing this tonight.
Yeah, this one needs to be done before we can.
We've already adopted our budget, okay.
adopt the budget.
Mr. Wright had to go in and to write the checks, so obviously it looks like we are reimbursing the capital outlay for the emergency sewer repairs. Is there a motion to, okay, motion by Ms. Moore, second by Mr. Farrell, any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
And Mr. Root?
Yes.
5 ayes, 1
All right, the resolution is adopted. Resolution 1590 is a resolution requesting approval of the Director of Local Government Services for dedication by a rider for the Municipal Alliance on Alcohol and Drug Abuse Program contributions. This is, dedication by a rider separates the money in our budget, so the money can only be used for Municipal Alliance funds, and it carries over from year to year, so if the funds are not expended, it stays there. Did I explain that correctly? If they did well, no?
You can do these two together.
Okay, want to do the next one also?
As well, they're
both
the
the
same
same.
concept, just a different funds. 90-91.
1991, and a resolution requesting dedication by rider for the unemployment compensation insurance. Mr. Wright explained to me that every year whoever reviews our budget sometimes picks different things. So in this particular analysis done by this individual, he wanted these two things as dedication by rider, so these will show up in our budget as separate line items, and the money carries forward year after year. We have money for cutting trees down, we have money for snow removal, we could put money in, say, for pothole repair. I think there's certain things that we can do dedication by rider. Is that correct, Ms. Joyce? Also? Okay, so we have resolution
Well, then that's a
15.
good thing for municipal alliance.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And Clean Communities has already done this one.
Okay.
So 1590, 1591, is there a resolution to, a motion to approve those two?
I'll second.
Or-
Well, I think the motion approved it too.
I'll say.
What was the motion?
Motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Ms. Muir. Any other discussion?
It's for 1590 and 1591.
Yeah, they're both the same item, one's for,
Okay,
municipal lines.
I just wanted clear.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
And Mr. Root?
Yes.
5 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, those resolutions are adopted. Resolution 15-92 is a resolution amending the 2015 budget. For clarification for everyone, we injected the additional money received for delinquent taxes. We took half the money, we put it aside. The other money we injected, infused into the budget, which is doing a tax decrease for this current year of approximately $5 per average assessed home. Okay? Any other questions?
Anytime there's a tax decrease,
I
I
think it's
love
positive. But most of our neighbors do zeros. I want to make you point that out. Everyone does zeros. Nobody does a
it.
decrease.
But we got a decrease.
Uh,
That's great.
Roll, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion for resolution.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Mrs. Kelly. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
And Mr. Root?
Yes.
5 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, the resolution is adopted. And then resolution 15-93.
And you have to adopt the budget.
Oh, adopt the budget, I'm sorry.
Now we have
Now we have to adopt the budget. How do we do that?
You just make a motion, somebody just makes a motion to adopt.
Okay, anyone make a motion to
I'll
adopt the
make a
budget?
motion that we adopt the budget
As amended.
as amended.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion by Ms. Moore, second by Mr. Ranieri. Any other
And,
discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
And Mr. Root?
Yes.
5 ayes, 1
All right, the budget is adopted.
It's like balancing
What
the
is it?
checkbook.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, are we gonna vote on anything we come out of executive session?
We will not vote on anything after we come out of the next session.
I think we should be public with today.
Okay, just let everybody know, 1593 is allowing us to go 30 minutes for personnel issues and discussion of personnel issues. So what we'll do is we're going to go to good and welfare for the public, because we will not vote on anything when we come back. Is that correct? You have nothing else?
Well,
There were two other discussion items.
We were gonna talk about the curbing,
I
yellow
let-
curbs.
We'll discuss
We're talking
them.
about executive session, but you're not gonna vote on anything because it's not on your agenda.
No, but I do want to bring it up, and I did talk with Mark about it.
You know what, we want to do that real quick before we'll do
Part of it.
good and welfare and then do the little discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, this portion of the meeting is open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. We don't want you to sit all day.
Yeah, we don't want you to come and then not get your moment.
Oh, great. Hi, my name is Nicholas Capel. That's my wife Heather and my son Nicholas. We are new residents here. We live at 843 North Reed Avenue. The reason we're here not only to meet all of you is to ask if it's possible that we have a speed bump on our street. We have speeders that come down, and they use it as a cut through. It's understandable. It's a shortcut, but they drive really fast.
Aren't there two on the?
Start down at that part, this is down towards the Turnpike Park, heading from like,
43
from
is the other
Smith
end.
to Broadway, from that area in there. We went down, I mean, they do kind of, They fly up from down in that whole neck of the woods. I spoke to, is it okay to say Nick or Nicholas? I did
Between
speak-
Smith, Broadway and Smith?
Yeah, Smith down that way, that end. I did talk to him, I said that having the speed bump was probably not something that was gonna be possible, only because the street really wasn't slotted to be done, because we did down the road Fifth.
We did the other
and
side.
we stopped at Fifth, so from Fifth to Smith hasn't been done, and from Smith down Broadway hasn't been done. So, but I did say that I can get signage to like help to at least try to slow it down. And I did talk to Paul earlier, and I spoke to Eleanor after I had spoken to, and I said that, maybe we can put the monitoring sign up. I mean, I know it's not affixed permanently, but at least it gives the, that we are aware that it's a problem.
Well,
We've been-
I just had a resident tell me, and I've been speaking to him about the speed on Hirsch, and he lives right in front of the speed bump that's on Hirsch. He, he was all like, oh, thank you for the, speed bump when we did that, all that, and I just seen him about 2 weeks ago, and he's like, you know what, you were right, the speed bumps don't work. They speed up the speed bumps.
What did I
And
tell you?
then
That's
go
exactly
over
what I said.
And I also know the guy's got his house up for sale on Singly. He's got a bucket of spare parts that fall off the car that he's just saving, just for,
Sure.
just
Oh,
for jokes.
hit the
Yeah,
Speed
that is
bump.
true, because I live on Reed,
Right.
and there are some, and I said to him, I said, look, I live on the corner of Reed and First, I said, he goes, does it help? I go, not really, and I'm in a corner. They fly up, they go over the bump, they fly to the next bump, they go over the bump, and then they blow right through the intersection at the stoplight,
And
and the
there's
stop
no
sign, and
town
then they fly.
speed, and
Yeah.
there's something that,
It's just gotta be,
it's no answer, there really is no answer.
We put a lot up in the past few years. I think we did close to 7 or 8 speed bumps.
And we're
We
getting
did.
complaints from the people.
And so we're-
It's not helping.
We're back and forth on it.
to a certain extent.
This council is a little less inclined to put speed bumps up right now. We can reevaluate it again,
I mean, I think it does help,
How
but
long you been in town?
3 months.
February.
February.
Welcome.
Thanks, we love it, we love it.
But I'll definitely get the signs, we have signs, or I can at least put them up, but if we can get the monitoring.
There
maybe
is a bike
temporarily.
patrol. Yeah, the bike patrol could chase the cars.
I'd like to see the monitor there.
Any specific times worse than
You
others?
can commit to
What do
that.
you say? What do you think?
I'll say this.
What's that? You want to put the sign up?
Let's
Put
put
the monitor up.
We have it, let's use it.
It's Heather, right?
It's Heather. I find that it's late at night.
Late at night?
Oh, sorry. My name's Heather Capel. I live at 843 North Reed Ave. So sorry, thank you. First time. Late at night, you'll see, because probably people think nobody's up. I'm here. We moved from South Philly, and the biggest reason we moved here is it's a nice town, but not too far away.
Yes.
So to see speeders like that was kind of shocking. I grew up in Collingswood, so I don't know I never drove in Collingswood though, but yeah, but there is a sign actually on the street array that says, "We love our children, please don't speed." It's like this big.
Right, I can
And
try to
I
get
think the
something.
trees might hide it because it's on towards that abandoned house.
Yes, it's up towards the corner.
Yes. So, but yeah, all day, sometimes in the afternoon when the teenagers are getting out of school, I think it's a lot of younger people. It's not like a lot of younger kids.
Yeah, I mean, we're evaluating speed bumps. I mean, like I said, we put up, Chief, if you want to.
Right, yeah.
Jared,
Ma'am, you're saying the speeders, you live on 843, so if you're coming from Smith Lane, would you be on the left side or right side?
If you're coming from Smith Lane, we're on the left side,
You're on the left side going towards the turnpike.
going towards the turnpike.
Now, would you consider that the speeding is coming from Smith Lane going towards the turnpike, from the turnpike going to Smith Lane?
It's both.
Yeah, it's.
I find that it's both. I mean,
Okay, now let me ask you a question. You said that the speeding, which you consider speeding, you consider that between 4 and 7? Would that be
and sometimes it's late at night, later
okay?
at
So
night,
4
like
and
if I'm
7.
sitting
Was
on
it
90, I was sitting
a
on
louder
my,
muffler?
When we were leaving the house,
It's just
was it a louder muffler?
no, like you ever hear these young kids with the
Oh, yeah.
fresh.
no.
Fresh muffler.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The zoom zooms.
We will definitely,
Yeah.
Mayor Kapaz, Director Kelly will definitely put the speed monitor out there. Unfortunately, we have done studies in the past with problem streets and problem intersections. People run stop signs, and believe it or not, it's most likely the residents that live around in the area.
You know what it is? And I've noticed, and I've been keeping track of the cars that go by. And
Looks like the same people.
We've done a study, I did a study over 2 years ago where Lakeview Drive in Singley, and I had an officer out there for 3 hours, he stopped 12 people running the stop sign, and 10 of the 12 happened to be residents on the west side of town.
Coming from Philly, I stop at almost every corner.
I
because I'm so used to
understand,
it.
but we will definitely address your problem. If you have any problems whatsoever, I beg of you to call 911. An officer will respond out there and we'll do the best we can. If you have any problems, I'm working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Okay? More welcome.
And you don't have, it doesn't have to be an emergency to call 911, because everybody thinks that. When they say, what's your emergency, you just say, it's not an emergency, but that way they have a record, so
Okay.
people
Bless you.
understand that. Bless you. Yeah, that way they have a record of it.
There's a lot more kids in the area. My
There
girlfriend-
are, there's a ton of.
My girlfriend was a Rambler, and there's hardly any speeding on her street, and she's like, what, 2 blocks over from us?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Mr. Mayor,
Right.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for
Thank you.
coming. Come more often.
Oh,
Nice
absolutely.
seeing you again, Eleanor.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, come on up. Please.
Al Palisano, 31 North Oakland Avenue. The Memorial Day services were lovely. Everybody did a great job.
What?
Except for whoever puts them online. The notation didn't come out till the Thursday before. So if a resident wanted to know, were we doing anything, they had no way of finding out.
We do it every year.
Well,
We do have new residents.
We do.
I went across to my neighbors, just to, they have all the flags out, they have they celebrate Memorial Day.
Yes.
I said, do you guys know that we have, over at the Harry Williamsville, we have a big ceremony? They said, no, we have no idea.
Well, we will do a better job, if that's what you're saying.
Sign at the 7-Eleven. There's a sign at the, I want a sign at the 7-Eleven.
That was online for a considerable amount of time, not
But what are you talking about, the email flash that you get that reminded people?
No, I'm talking about just going to runnemede.nj.org.
There was a post.
Yes, Thursday there was.
Okay. Well, I think what we can do is we can put it on the calendar now and start going.
Can't we work with the Triton? Can't we?
We are looking at doing a better job to the newsletter and redoing our website. We're looking at all that. We realize that our communication needs to improve. You're right.
Yes, oh, we did.
We had a good turnout though.
Yes, we did.
Did you like the tents?
Yeah, oh, that was such a pleasure.
Yeah, the tents made a big difference.
Beats planting a lot more trees.
Yes, tents were great.
But thank you very much. Yes, and also, it wouldn't have hurt to put out a notice for the school kids.
Well, we're working on that with the school.
I mean, just
Developing a better
to
plan.
tie it all in
It's coming.
and give yourselves a pat on the back.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak from the public? Is there a motion to close the public portion?
I so move.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Kelly, second by Ms. Moore, all in favor?
Aye.
Public portion is closed. Mark, you want to do your report? We got a couple small things, but you can do your report. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Please, call 911.
Absolutely.
Well, if you would start first, because you're going to tie in a couple things that Bob and these guys had together.
I emailed my staff report out last Friday, so hopefully you had a chance to look at it. And, I was at the request of the mayor, so, regarding South Oakland Road, our survey has commenced. We're in the process of coming up with base plans, and then we'll, send those to the utility company and start our design. Singley Avenue, we're finalizing the design on that, and we're getting ready to go out to bid on that. So it should be advertised relatively shortly, sometime in June. The Borough Hall safety improvements, we talked about this. We had the kickoff meeting. Our architecture department was out here. They did some measurements, and we're in the process of coming up with the existing conditions plan. Once we have that completed, then we'll get together and get everybody's ideas on what they want this thing to look like. Irish Hill Road, I got a telephone call last week from Joe Sienna from Belmore that they were ready to go. So we hurriedly got our stakes out in the ground and construction started, and it's just about done. So hopefully that will eliminate a lot of phone calls we had to deal with.
I got a call from Larry.
Is he happy?
Thank you.
Is he happy?
He goes, ah, this is just unbelievable. He goes, now I can't get out of my driveway. I go, oh, you people on Irish Hill are nuts.
He's on the-
And he's like, thank God, it's finally.
He put an asphalt curb along his
Very,
driveway.
very happy.
The other general engineering, the Harry Williams Gymnasium roof and the lighting, our architects finished up their review. They have some memos, but I want Steve to look at that before I give it to the engineering and public works committee.
Now, we're working concurrently with Bob, talking to the New Jersey Energy. Is this all coming together? Do you remember what's happening here? I mean, you know, we got Mike, we got engineering, we got all these different things going together. You know, there's an opportunity for us to get some money from the state to do upgrading and lighting, upgrading HVAC. Is this all coming together, or is this, we all agree the roof has to be done first?
They both need to be done if you're looking, but the roof has to be done, yes, because you've got, at least if you spend money for a new electrical system in there.
It's gotta be painted.
But is
It's gotta
Bob
be
part
painted.
of all this? I mean, is this all coming
Bob is
together?
this.
Bob is this?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we're,
Bob
No.
Law. Bob Law was the one who went out to the state, and then the state sent Hutchinson out here. I think Mr. Ranieri,
Do you know, is everybody aware that the HVAC unit that they were planning on replacing in the proposal that they put together in that energy conservation program?
was too small.
It's just for the library, it's not the auditorium,
No,
it's not the.
wait, time out. It's for the senior center, not the library.
Senior
No,
center.
that's very important.
Okay,
That's
Because
senior,
the library has a new unit.
Yes, the
senior
library
center.
has one.
And we still,
why wouldn't they
we
look at that
still
anyway?
have the old heater up there, and that has to be replaced.
Because it's too big.
It doesn't qualify for the rebate program, incentive, the energy incentive programs. It's too big to be in it.
But we can pay for it on our
Yes,
own.
of course.
So the energy will pay for the seniors to get a new, more energy efficient one.
That's correct.
All the lighting,
That's in the program.
they won't fix for the roof, so we have to pay for fixing the roof, and we'd have to pay for
Well,
the
if we're paying to fix the
HVAC.
roof, then we need to paint the metal that runs down the side of the building. That should all tie in.
The roof quote is for the patchwork and the gutters. That's what the roof quote is for.
Is that enough?
Unless the vendor felt that that was sufficient.
Okay, and that has nothing to do with painting, that's a separate issue.
Painting is a separate issue, but if you're gonna do it, because there's parts on the roof that are leaking and causing,
Well, you fix the
Rusty.
leaking first.
oh no, but it's
Then we
causing
paint
the
it.
rusting onto the frame around.
I don't think we can do anything until we get that roof
Yeah.
done, and that's basically it.
Can we put together, I don't think we have, can we put together a committee to work on this entire project?
Well, I don't know, I mean.
There's a lot of parts going on. I mean, Mike, you talked about the floor, we talked about the roof. We got just about everybody involved in it.
Right.
You know, I think they just need to report back to the group, whatever anybody gets.
Okay.
What, public works, buildings and grounds, or is that a gray area?
It's a gray area because you got,
Well, who's?
we threw Bob into the
How are we
whole.
getting, how are we getting the
Needs a
money?
little
Who's
more,
giving
needs
us
a
the
little,
money?
Wall is
No,
getting,
a little more tiny.
The bonding the money?
he's getting.
We already have $100,000 approved for the bond.
Okay.
And we're maximizing that with the direct install grant for the items that they're going to
Okay.
cover. So the items for the
Under
purchase,
whose umbrella does all this fall?
right now it's falling under administration, which is why the purchasing agent is handling the purchasing, because in the
he's
bond,
doing well, too.
but in the bond was the lighting, was the HVAC, was the floor, the roof repair, then we added to that the fountain, so all this stuff is all being handled by purchasing because they're all purchasing issues.
Okay.
So,
Well, that was not part of it, Harry Williams.
I'm just,
He
no,
just
but I'm
helps.
just, but I'm just
But
saying that
that's-
that's how.
He helped get the bond, he get the bids.
All the
That's
fountain
what we
items
want.
and things of that nature, so.
I mean, you were involved in the HVAC part, you read it. Mike, you met with this county to look at the floor. So, I mean, everybody, it has been a lot of people involved.
We're gonna do committees. The committee time is for what we're doing for phase 2 for Borough Hall. That once it's a go, and we have the blueprints and we know what we're buying, then the committee kind of takes a back seat and then we procure it. You know, we would never get anything done there if we waited.
I think the way it has to be is council has to approve whatever gets done. Because I think this is the quickest, that's the easiest way to get it done. Because if Bob comes, right now, we just found out they won't do the heater. Because when I read it, I read the same thing, I'm like,
You're missing the point. Sorry.
what?
That I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that we've already agreed that we're buying the things we're buying. So we'll manage the day-to-day.
So you're just saying once the lowest bid comes in, we just get it done?
No, if we want to change that, then somebody can say, hey, I think that we should look at this or look at that. But for the most part, if we need to, if we say we're doing a roof repair, then we get the quote. If we say we're doing lighting, then we get the quotes or we get the bid and we buy it. You already approved it, so at that point in time.
No,
We're
that's
looking into solar in any capacity.
Many years ago, the borough
Oh, I know
paid for a
that.
study, and there wasn't a real conducive building layout for solar,
I just wondered.
you know, and solar does have its difficulties too, because solar,
Absolutely, it does.
you know, with the roofing problems we have and things like that. You know, I think it's a great idea. Right now, I think if you saw that report, I thought it was sent to everybody, the return on the investment, you know, we get $50,000, $60,000 worth of equipment, we're only putting up $15,000. And then we were gonna save $3,500 a year. So right there, in 5 years, you get all your money back, so, you know.
It's great, but time-wise, the building needs to be painted, et cetera. I think that we just will get together again, a couple of us, and we'll just get
Yeah, the
more
paint
firm.
wasn't part of the overall picture, but I agree it needs to be done.
Well, this is,
Just
listen.
seasonal
as it-
permitting is
As it had
proper
always
thinking.
been discussed, as far as I was concerned, when I originally said that we needed to throw the money into the building, it was, this building's been let go for so long. It isn't just the Harry Williams Senior Center, this is a community center for this town, and it has an opportunity to offer a lot more than what it has. So, I mean, it's just maybe.
I think that's why we improved
Right.
$100,000.
Exactly.
And with,
And of course, then I will say the director said $500,000, but unfortunately, that
No,
wasn't.
no, and I said, you
It was
need to
clear,
start
so.
with what the problems are. The problems are the electrical, the roof leaks, the lighting, they're not efficient.
I think we're taking advantage, if we get this New Jersey direct install, I think that's I mean, 75% are gonna pay for it.
The collapse to the walls.
That's a done deal.
We can promote that, it's pretty much a done deal.
That's a done
Except
deal.
for funding, correct? Isn't there a funding issue?
Well, we're on hold right now because the state is, we're waiting for the state to refresh the available funds.
There's no money.
Those are backwards. So,
That's another problem. Now, what I suggested, and I think council should, you know, this is the way we've done it in the past, we front the money, as long as
And
we're
then
allowed to
get
front the money. You get
reimbursed.
reimbursed. You
And
know,
wait
do you
7
know anything
years.
about that program?
As long as we know it's coming, right?
But here's the only argument that I have, as long as the pricing is decent, what's the worst case scenario? We're paying, you know, they don't give us the money.
We have to do it anyhow. We
Yeah.
have to do
Yeah,
it.
we have to
Yeah,
do
it's
it.
not even.
It's gotta happen, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, we tell
I
us
just
in the
want to
bills
get it
later.
done. I just want to get it done.
Yeah. I know how
We've been
much.
sitting on it for
But
so
again, we
long.
can't
I
rush-
understand something, we are in government and the policy is hurry up and wait, so that's what it comes to.
But I mean, if you're gonna wait for 50 grand, I would wait a month for 50 grand.
This is what it is. The weather's nice, it's prime time for everything we need to do, and nothing's happening.
Yeah.
That's the feeling everybody has. So maybe we can work on a very small project, like painting down the road in a little couple of.
Why don't we authorize the roof? As soon as the bids come in,
Oh,
let's
I
get the
want to
roof.
do that right away.
Okay, you got the bids, fix the roof.
Get
There
that
we go.
roof done.
All right, you wanna continue? So you've got the roof almost under control.
Amen.
Is that fine?
The infrastructure, yeah, I've been working with Rich just to get the comments back to DEP, your 15-day letter go back yet?
yes.
Okay. Bowers Avenue and the bike path, there's been no action. Bob's pushing to get that moved forward, but right now we're just waiting for council blessing if we want to go out for a bid on those two projects.
This is for the drainage?
The drainage on the bike path and also on
What do we
Bowers
tell
Avenue.
those people?
Well, the Bowers, the dreams on the bike path, it isn't that, I mean, that's not nearly as large an undertaking as Bowers Avenue.
The question is that we weren't too happy with Public Works maybe doing some of the work. I mean, can we do some temporary fix to fix?
It's so completely jammed through across under Third Avenue. It's, when it rains excessively, that side going towards Smith Lane.
So the pipe is
Just
full?
floods.
The pipe is,
Phil,
pipe is full?
There's not pipes throughout the whole thing.
right.
It's a series of pipes and then overland flow, and the overland flow is all backed up.
Those people
There was
have a
erosion,
real
so that
problem.
Public Works threw stones in there, some stones washed out, and it's just overgrown.
Why don't we try and ask Tom to take a look at it again? Maybe his perspective. Maybe, you know, just, once again, a temporary fix, like we did, you know.
It's not one temporary fix as far as I'm concerned, because it's affecting the residents that live along there, because it's flooding their yards.
How many times have they been?
Ortiz,
before?
Ortiz is one of the people that, it floods his yard out, because when it backs up to that extent, and he's several houses down from this.
What don't you wanna do? Do you not wanna put the lights in at the Harry Williams building? You know, this is the the definition of politics.
Well, that's it, and what, so you cater to, you cater to the residents that use the Harry Williams building, but you don't cater to the ones whose properties are flooding away, that's what I'm saying.
Weren't you just lobbying to fix the Harry Williams building?
I am, but I'm saying to you, so that's the dilemma.
Maybe we should give people tax money back. and-
Yeah, we should raise
and
taxes.
zero.
I'm not saying that I'm not lobbying for it, I'm saying to you, that's the double-edged sword. You
Yeah,
can
no.
say that we cater to the.
That's
people
why I'm
that
asking the
have-
question. I wasn't being,
What kind of money are you talking about to
I
resolve?
think it was 25 grand or, was it?
It was more than that.
It was more than
More than
25
that.
grand. $40,000 to fix.
How many homes are affected?
What did you say, 90?
Design
For
for
hours?
90 for Bowers, that affects all the people that live along there, plus all the 2 streets after that,
And I think 90 is very
conservative.
conservative.
You know,
What
you can
what do you do for
Fallon Ave
90,000?
should never
What are you
been
gonna
built.
do for 90,000?
Fix the
That's
drainage.
3 days, they should never build houses on it.
No,
That's
it
true,
should never come.
that's true.
Or they should
You're
have been
right.
forced to put curbs on both sides and storm
Yes.
drains on both sides. That was a planning board mistake,
Yeah.
that the planning board failed to make them build a real road.
And when you open things up,
That's politics again.
when you open things up, they never turn out to be 90.
No. The only thing I would get back once again is, can we do it, something in-house to resolve it? I'll give you my experience. On Sunnybrook Road, when I first got on council, there was a problem with, at the end of my road, there was a drain pipe, you remember this? There was a drain pipe that was completely clogged, it was terrible. It was so bad that the house in front of it flooded out and the porch went away. Our insurance company came in and paid to put new footings in for this back porch. The insurance company said to us, we're not gonna pay again. You guys remember, I was the only one on council when this happened, me and Joyce, I guess. We're not gonna pay for it again if you guys don't fix it. And then what happened was, Public Works went down there, actually did a very good job cleaning that pipe. And then we did spend 20 grand or so to put a curb down the road. So the only reason I bring up, can we do anything? Even myself owns a small backhoe.
Did you talk
I own a backhoe. My group is driving better than me. Do
The
we?
bike path is easier than Bowers Ave. Bowers Ave-
That's what I'm saying, the bike path first.
Bike path,
Because I remember in one meeting, you might have said that we could maybe give a little bit of advice.
John Gunn gave me advice. John Gunn gave advice out there. Were you out there that day?
But he didn't do it.
Well, no, because he wasn't authorized to do it. He wasn't authorized to dig up across the bike path to connect to the other storm drain. He wasn't.
Well, he wanted to put a
authorized.
pipe underneath.
Public Works did say they were going to get down and do something, and they didn't do nothing.
well,
They,
They attempted,
They did try.
well,
they did. They tried to clean it out. They were gonna try to jet it out as best they could to try to clean part of it. And then John came out and John said where it goes from the storm grate at the front of the bike path to the storm, like that little swallow thing that's there's a storm drain across the way. John's like, well, we can put a lateral across and connect to that storm drain, but that's not gonna really alleviate the problem. That's like digging up the whole bike path. That's like, so, and he wasn't authorized to do that. He was just giving his input into what it was. So it's lots of people giving input. He's the one with the answer.
All right,
40 grand,
what was the projected fee for that?
40,000.
Is it projected at 40?
I believe,
Yeah, we don't have it
roughly,
It was
yes.
3 months ago, so I don't know.
Yeah.
What about Mr. Moneyken?
Here's where
Well,
we're
great,
running,
it's all great.
here's where we're running into headaches for these types of things that pop up. We just adopted the budget. The budget has a capital plan, which it's vague, but I mean, it has roads, it has improvements to buildings. And this year's plan basically is taken up by the road project that we have in place and the procurement of the property for the most part. And then when things happen during the year and we say, well, let's do this, let's go do that, let's go do this. Do you have the 50 grand to extend Washington? All the other monies that we had to squeeze have all been squeezed. So really, we need to be into a planning cycle. So it's not, things hopefully won't be as bad that we're dying for them to get done, but at the same time, when we talk about it and we say, okay, well, we're gonna do Bowers, then we know that probably next fall Bowers will get done. And then when we
Well,
have.
but these problems all were existing, quite honestly, before the
True.
building situation came to pass. I mean,
Uh-oh.
the building situation was kind of just a rumble of what we hoped maybe could happen.
Right.
These problems have been existing issues for years.
The buildings, if you remember, was a problem that's been going back for years also. No parking on the Black Horse Pike. There were business owners that actually started an association to fight this council to put parking on there. You remember those days?
I think that the building situation was more of a time-sensitive close, get the properties,
That's fine,
and they're willing to
but
sell them.
understand, before you were on council, there was also the building across the street that was discussed, and we didn't do anything about that, and that was discussed as having the potential to be parking for the bike, and nothing.
So was the gas station down the end of the
Exactly,
street?
and nothing
There's
got
a lot of things.
done.
Prior council wanted to buy the property across from.
Yeah, but we were just actually,
I mean,
it's
so
all,
it's always keep
It's
surfacing
always
back around,
surfacing.
and it comes down to priorities. We're basically going to,
I'm not
for
against
lack of
it,
a
I'm
better
just
phrase, we're
saying.
gonna take on a little bit more debt to do that project. And you can always say, well, okay, let's take on a little more debt, and at the end of the day, that comes down to council, you know, basically saying,
I think our
What do you
plate's
come-
full. The Harry Williams building, the knocking down the buildings, paving that, getting that project done.
this is a big year.
There's a lot to
It's a
do.
big year.
A lot
Big
of
year.
things down here.
But that's why I keep bringing back. Can Public Works go down there with a backhoe and start digging
That's the way to go.
and
Not
get
with
a
the
generator
not with the crew that we have
Talk to
currently
Tom.
in Public Works, that's closed session.
and call Belmar. If Runnemede can't do it, then call Gloucester Township, you know? Because at least then, they're not gonna charge us a profit. That's all I'm getting at. You know, we bring a vendor in, what are they gonna charge us? They're gonna cost us bond fees, prevailing wage.
Yeah.
right, but
Yeah.
even, but
I'll give you a
Public
weekend.
Works isn't proposing to do a $50,000
No,
job. You want
no.
them to just go do X. So you can get a vendor to go do X, and they have insurance, and if they mess it up.
Then
they're
maybe
liable
so you're
for
saying
it.
not do this, but do another. Okay,
Well,
that's
back to my,
fine.
you know, I'm not knocking Public Works when I say we shouldn't be doing certain things. I'm just saying we've got to get our core stuff and be good
And
at
maybe
that.
sub out somebody
And
else.
we always say, well, give it to Public, give it to Public Works.
Well,
give it
that's
to
my
Public Works.
mentality. I hate to say it.
I understand that, but you know,
But
sometimes
again,
you're like,
like,
stop.
nothing against Public Works, but like, you have a very extremely, and not just you, a very broad spectrum of what you think they're capable of, and there are limitations to what they're capable of. They aren't engineers, they aren't, I mean, John, nothing, and I'll say, what John thinks is the best option with his experience with the sewer department, or wastewater, or anything else, is one thing, as opposed to the guy who's running the backhoe's experience, so it's a completely, they have limitations, and this is, when they stood out there that day and said what they wanted to do, I thought, I'm not even sure what you're talking about, too. And two, I don't even think any of you are capable of doing this project. This is a huge.
Well, the only thing I can say that, to answer the question of when, which is always your question, when?
I hate to be a pushover.
When is a priority then? So what we do is, we make our list, and as we finish things off, they move up on the list.
Well,
You know, the Harry Williams building, that heater is 37 years old.
that's good.
It's a priority.
You know,
That is the priority.
you know,
If you're gonna
And
do
the
it, pay the
last
extra
year
10%
of
and get
what
AC
we
with
put
it.
up with all the
Please.
calling,
So
that
the
it's not
here's the
working,
building
this
in the
is not.
summertime.
So with all that being said, I think we came to a decision that the bike path is gonna be done before Bowers. That's what we just said.
they'll probably end up going simultaneously when we do the next road engineering plan,
So we're looking at next year.
2016.
16.
And it's,
Okay, let's, at least we
We've
got.
made too many commitments.
We got a hand.
2016.
There we go. That's done.
Okay.
So that will disappear from my report next month, and just be
Yeah.
something on the back burner.
2016.
I agree.
Okay, that's good with me.
The Borough Hall emergency generator, I'm getting ready to make a recommendation for final payment, but first I need Joyce to certify that she got all the payroll.
I'm pretty sure that I did.
I just,
They are very good about sending me,
I have a CFO that says I need your approval for it to make my letter go out. And same with Len has to look at my bonds, and I sent to him.
So that'll come off
And then,
next month.
so hopefully by the next council meeting, I can put the letters together. And that's pretty much all I have
Okay.
to talk about, unless anybody has any questions about anything.
There.
Okay, the DARCON training, our municipal alliance coordinator would like to have a training session here. I will meet with her and we'll see what dates are available. We don't have the screens up yet, do we, for the PowerPoint?
We can do it. We can do it the old school way, so we don't have.
hurry up, hurry up.
Well, what's your time frame on the North End? Like in the next month?
She'd like to have it sooner.
But in the next month, in the
Well,
next
it all
week?
depends on the people giving the program. It's an outside group.
Well, you need to advertise it too, right? Or is it just for?
Well, this is why I want to meet with her. I just want to talk with council. Are you happy with the fact that we would host a DARCON
I think
training?
it's a great idea, but I will say this, and I know this is once again putting the cart. Is it important to have the screen before they come in?
That we don't know.
Maybe
don't
we should
know
say that and say,
exactly
why
what
don't you
they
wait till
need.
we're prepared? That might be the way to just say, we want to have it, Well, let's get the screen.
Okay.
Because I think it'll make the presentation better.
Is that screen dated yet? Do you have that on there? I know we,
Purchase orders out.
okay, so that means it.
It could be here soon,
Yeah, it's just a screen.
Pops in tomorrow.
so it could be here soon.
So why don't you say that, we're fine with it, as long as everyone's fine with it, does anybody care about the training in here?
I think having that is
Yeah, but it's gonna
much
require,
better.
it's not gonna happen overnight, it's gonna require
Little bit of electric.
But once they start, it could be.
But I think it'll make for a much better
It'll take
presentation,
30 days.
okay?
Okay, all right, well, and then I can have a municipal alliance meeting, and we can just.
Just say, once it comes up, they can
Well,
advertise
that's
and
more
start.
permanent, okay.
Would you have anything else?
No, that was it.
John, did you have anything?
The curbing,
We'll get there, we're gonna go with that with the
yeah, the curbing and,
I have, just upon the approval of all these 3 or 4 resolutions, that the state approval of our budget was done, so we all know that already. It's about a couple things, I've approved payment on the 2 new vehicles for the police. And I know that,
Actually signed that, good for you.
and we also got new computers, right?
We have new computers, we're putting new air cards in,
Nice.
so the computers run more efficiently.
What about the video
Dozen
cameras?
computers in the police
Video
department?
cameras, we sent the W-9 in, like the business registration is now up front. We will need to fill out a purchase order to do it properly. I will have to send a policy over to Mr. Wood for review. I got Gloucester Township's 9-page policy on video in the police cars, which you will have to adopt by ordinance. I would like
So we need to do that prior to these.
Well,
cameras
we
going
can
on.
we can get them going, but we're gonna need the ordinance to
Okay.
get it done. But, you know, that needs to be done, the ordinance needs to be done, added to our rules and
What's the
regulations.
time frame on the cameras? A month, 2 months?
Probably about a month.
and
Should we
one
do
for
first
each,
reading on this
each
policy?
interceptor will have one, right?
Both interceptors will have one, that's correct.
What do you think?
I know Oakland bought the same,
9
system
pages.
as we did.
Excuse me, chief, I'm sorry, continue.
Oakland Police bought the same system as Mr. Ranieri saw, so it's a very good system.
Great system.
So-
Eleanor, my concern is, we buy the cameras and we're not allowed to turn them on because we don't have an ordinance.
We have to have a policy in it.
So what I'm suggesting is that if he's got a 9-page ordinance that's already,
No, 9-page, yeah, I got it already.
It's already
I
has
even
it.
sent Mr.
Ready.
Wood.
We want to introduce the ordinance tonight by,
we would introduce it next week, and then public hearing will be the next month, so that it'll be ready in time for the machines to come in. So Joyce, can you put that first reading of the, for June 3rd? We don't have a whole lot on June 3rd, so,
Len, I'll just send it to you tonight.
and we'd always amend it over the 30 days.
okay, well, and I'll look at it and make any comments.
It's same as Gloucester Township.
Because then you might realize what we'll do, we'll get the
I
cameras.
just
we're not allowed to
changed
turn
Gloucester
them on.
Township to Runnemede.
Okay.
That would be typical. Anything else,
Whole barn's been approved, the payment for the turf and the electrical, that's been done, that's been approved. Other than that, progress.
John and Joyce is signing the bills.
I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna hold it.
Yeah, don't tell him. Mr. Before we get, because yours is the most up, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
I think we hit on the budget, that was,
The
we've
most
had,
important thing,
there's a little, I guess, a private joke that goes along with that. That's the smallest list that we've ever had since I've been here from the state when they review the budget. And one of the items on there, we had to do 2 resolutions for, was for the trust funds that we've had since before I got here. So everybody that looks at something sees something differently, so whoever was checking it this time
It
around,
only took 5 years.
so.
What's been on Friday?
Yeah.
Well, I think that the rule of thumb was that it was statutory, you were okay, but apparently since all these items are on the 3-page list of commonly approved riders by DCA, that I guess it infers that you should get it.
A rider's fine, leave that money in there.
Right.
Mike, did you have anything?
No, just waiting, electric's waiting for the fountain, waiting on the fountain guys. So that should be done fairly soon, as soon as they get the PO's done. All that's waiting on, so they're just waiting on to come out and do the fountain.
Electric company involved yet?
They're waiting on the fountain. It's already,
No
already
meter,
dug,
nothing like that?
already, the box is set up. It's down to the lake with that box, so they're just waiting on, Black Lagoon to come out. They'll hook up, they'll come back out when he comes out, hook it up at the lower box, and then it's up to them just to, however they fasten it to the bottom of the lake.
And then the meter has to be set by PSEG?
And meter has to be set.
Okay. The reason we're letting Mr. Harold go last, we had a couple issues on parking. Did you have anything? Okay, the parking issues. Ms. Passio, myself, Mr. Farrell, we've all been talking about the no parking on Evesham Road. The issue is that this county wanted us to say that there'll be no parking from basically Triton High School all the way there. Last time we came here, we agreed to this. We need to do the next, no, we agreed to a smaller portion. We agreed to from
the-
Family 5 to the corner.
Correct.
No stopping and standing. As long as we're okay with doing this, you know, what we didn't do last month is we didn't do any formal ordinance to do this. Are we okay with, once again, I hate doing this, putting the cart before the horse, do we do a first reading? How do I need to get this started again? Do you have to physically go do something now to get us?
Yes, he has to do the measurement.
Can we give you the authority? We need a resolution from us saying that you need to write us? Or you just want the okay? Everybody okay with that?
And he's going to measure for the yellow curbing.
I just need a word.
Now, do we want to paint it yellow or we simply want to put signs up?
Oh, paint it yellow.
Paint it yellow?
Oh, absolutely.
Chief?
And
And put signs.
Okay, I'm fine.
Chief?
Do you have any questions? The chief will tell you.
Wait a minute.
Mark,
Yeah.
it will go from pole 60420, that is pole 60420, that is on the north side of East Evesham Road, west of the Rectory driveway. You will then go down to as far as Bremboy property, which I think was 143.
I should put it in an email for these things.
I gave Mayor
Please
Capozzo.
forward.
Yeah, because it's.
That's why I brought it in, but I wanted to,
Okay, you'll go to Bremboy property or County 5
if
property.
you could just redo it, or I'll send it to you also.
Okay, no problem.
Now, we also wanted, the last time we discussed, we talked about the possibility of doing the no parking school days only at where the crossing guard, that area there.
School days to school hours.
I think that was the chief's resolution, and maybe make it halfway, instead of making no parking all the time. Remember, there was an issue, Paul, don't sit down again, just so,
Yes, sir.
but we're gonna need the engineer again to just do that one. We'll send that also. That was,
Where is this now?
can I elaborate on
That
that?
was
That's Third Avenue.
401 to 407, I think that's the odd side, of West Third Avenue
Oh,
to the
that's a
intersection.
problem.
So school days, school hours only?
The school days and school hours are only consistent with West Third Avenue by Mary's Old School, which we already have up there.
What's the sign say?
School days and school hours only.
That's all it says?
Yes, no parking school days, school hours, school hours.
Is that okay?
We already have an ordinance already in effect
Take
for West Third Avenue is by Mary's Old School.
What's the
Well,
school there?
you know, that's the problem.
Just look at it.
We're trying to be,
The sign's gotta be more specific.
School day, real simple.
well, he's saying that, have someone know what a school day is.
How does someone know when
Schools in
running schools are in session or Triton's in session? How does someone know? If their school district's not in session, is it unreasonable for them to assume that this school district's not in session?
Ours is school days and school hours only.
I'm saying to you. how do
He's
you
saying we should
enforce-
say Monday
I want
through
all those
Friday.
effective. That's right. How do you enforce, what's the school day? How do
The
you?
officers know what school days
But the-
are only.
I don't care about the officers. I'm not
The
worried about.
officers want to write the ticket.
Yeah, but then he goes to court. I'm the driver. I'm the driver. I drive through, I park there because in my town, the school's not open today. How am I supposed to know? It's impossible for me to know as a driver that what the school days are in Runnemede or Black Horse Pike Regional. So I'm suggesting that it says Monday to Friday, 7 to 3:30, whatever it is. No about school days, not school days. If you want to say, September 1st to June
Right.
30th, so it's open for the summer, but
But if we say Monday through Friday during the time.
that's right. So
Then
occasionally,
that would cut out during the summer months where there's not a lot of pedestrian traffic.
that's exactly right. So
So,
we'll do that. So you just,
Just don't enforce it in the summer.
so
or you, once that's up, you force it.
And the police is really gonna be that. Do you think we should say September, or is that too crazy to put on the sign?
I don't know what to put on the sign. I'm just saying, I think it's
Ever see Philadelphia apartment signs?
I know.
I mean, if you have it now, continue to use it, but I mean, I don't.
I still think it
See what he's saying?
We have it now, right
And
now.
how do you guys enforce it?
Our officers know what the schools.
No. But how many tickets have they written? And how many people have come into?
We've only written a handful of tickets, and most of them were residents.
Well, that's who it's for.
Yeah.
No,
We know
most
it's
of
for
the
the
offenders were residents.
We know it's, that's our problem.
These are
Our
people
residents.
that are gonna park in front of their houses, they'll call.
No,
Just
not
one.
all.
Just do it.
If it turns out to be a problem with enforceability, not because the police aren't doing their job, I'm not suggesting that, because somebody hires a slick lawyer and says, you know, this is too
We'll
bad.
wait for the slip. Is that what you're saying?
Wait for the
Fine,
slip.
we'll go with the chief's recommendation, and everyone agreed, these are two things we should have done this past month, and I just want to make sure. I
So
didn't
do
realize
we
we
need an
needed.
ordinance for that?
He will, he's gonna come back with meets and bounds, and we will have first reading in
And then we'll put
July.
the signs up,
It'll be ready for the next school year.
so we don't need yellow curving.
I do.
Absolutely.
Not there. Not there, but on Asian.
Yes, I know that, but
You
on this other, pardon
That's
me?
temporary.
No,
What?
because it's not all the time.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So just the signage would be
The
enough.
school
Is
age.
that correct, chief?
Yes, just signs up.
Are you asking my opinion?
Yes.
My opinion is, doesn't hurt to paint the yellow curb. It's only a small portion.
But then they want to park there at all.
Unfortunately, some judges throw out tickets that
How
are
about our
not a
judges?
yellow kid. It all depends.
You guys find it.
All right, well, let's start with this.
Then you can never park there.
There was one last thing, and then we can go on to our closed session. Oh, did you, I'm sorry.
I have a question on that. Are you going to enforce gardeners from funerals there?
I think we have to.
What I suggested, in my opinion, was that we speak to gardeners and we educate them, and we advise them that during their funerals, they direct their people into the parking lot on the Glendora side. Gardeners is the most like people to use St. Teresa's Church. Then we advise the church when another funeral home does come in, advise them that they must abide by the parking regulations and park into the parking lot.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't realize, I didn't realize that St. Teresa has no handicap parking on the Runnemede side. That people have to park across the street and come over.
But you have to
the side.
educate them.
And so there's no parking at all on that side, but it's gonna be a tough one.
It's gonna be hard, because they even park onto the pike in front of the bus stop where it says no park, they park there anyway, they park.
Last thing.
Has anybody talked to gardeners about this?
No,
We're gonna, once we start this process, we're gonna ask them.
I'll educate Wendy and Jim and Nick and.
Friday, I was unfortunately part of a funeral. It was gardeners, and it was from the curb, St. Teresa's, the pike, all the way back past Brenboy. They just had us line up, and they kept us moving back. We were way back there. We were crossing G&M.
Can they
So
not,
they're
can
using
we
it.
not make the exception, like when we talk about the sign? Can we not make the exception except for funeral?
I hope, isn't the whole thing, the no parking there because of safety?
It is a
Safety issue.
So is it, it's safe when there's a funeral?
What,
or
is it,
unsafe?
how far are we gonna make them carry the casket?
No. I thought,
Well, the kids
No,
are
the
sorry,
casket
Chief.
part, the first part,
They don't have
right in
viewings
front
anymore
of the church.
right?
It's the parishioners that come walking up. That's why we're asking them.
So the
to
casket
park.
could still, the casket could be parked on Black Horse Pike.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's allowed to park on Black Horse Pike, just not on Eve Street.
Yes,
They are
that's
taking the
fine.
lane up.
Paul, didn't you say you were going back to that pole, there was enough room
Yes,
for the
pole
casket?
60420.
There you
Not in
go.
front of the
Okay,
church
so-
will not be yellow,
Okay.
just
So
from that
that's
pole
what I'm saying.
back.
like,
So there'll be a little bit of
like,
spot.
you
Yeah,
can't-
there's like a buffer for.
From the east side of the driveway
Yeah.
I'm
back.
sorry.
There's room for about 20 cars.
All right, we'll move on that. And the last thing, I have more of it. The last big thing is the summer rec program.
Wait, are you done?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this all ties into the
I'm sorry.
summer rec program. It was brought to our attention that there's a tremendous amount of kids that will go to summer rec, but also to a summer school program. And a resident brought to our attention that there are no crossing guards to cross kids on Black Horse Pike. And it was also brought to my attention that we do pay the crossing guards over the summer, even when they're not working, in a form of unemployment insurance. So the idea is for that brief period of time that we have summer school, the chief has recommended 2 crossing guards,
No, one crossing guard.
1 crossing guard at Black Horse Pike just to cross those kids over. And they would be there from,
I have 8:30, 9:30, and I believe from,
so just wanted to say, do we need a resolution to do this? Is
I
this,
think they
this is
get
just
done around
a day-to-day
12:30.
for him, he just authorized it, right?
Paul,
What they're gonna have, they're gonna have the summer rec, the summer school program is gonna end at 12.
Yes.
And then the rec program's gonna start at 12 till
Okay.
3. So you're possibly gonna have kids leaving at 12, coming at 12.
Right, that's why I
then
have
again
the
at
crossing
3.
guard from 11:30 to 12:30 in my letter. So if someone decides to leave early or come early, there's a crossing guard there. So it gives,
This is the person-
basically it's 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day.
Okay. It's an administrative
So what
assignment.
about the 3 o'clock?
He can evaluate it, but see, the point is the other kids are leaving at 3.
I think that's the other hour. 1 hour is coming and 1 hour is
Yeah,
going.
8:30 to
But
9:30.
he's saying it's
Yeah,
actually 3 times.
there's 12 o'clock they're gonna be leaving, and then again at 3.
Well,
They're
the
gonna be
difference
coming at
is,
12.
And
we're
it's
actually doing this
5
for
o'clock
the
in the
school,
morning.
not for our
You
program.
have to
All right,
make
if you're not worried about those kids,
Ah, really?
don't worry about it.
You have 3 times, you have 3 times. When they're going, when they're leaving, and then when they're getting done.
So at 3 times.
This was brought up to the summer school. Mr. Root now is making it very clear. that we
But I don't know how many kids are walking. Because the whole idea is they're gonna have to,
The program could have up to 100 kids at the summer school.
Excuse me, Mr. Root. What, I talked to the superintendent, he looked at his roles. According to his roles, 20 to 25 children live on the east side of town would have to walk to the west side. They have potential to cross there. That does not mean they're going to cross there. Most likely, most of his parents are going to drive and drop the children off.
well, that's what he told me, that's
That's
how they're going to
potential.
do it.
We had one parent, they call and say that their one child takes the bus, but and our other child
There's a bus also.
has to walk. But she wanted, the one child to go on the bus with him, and the school said, no, it's for kids with special needs. So then she wants both her children to go together. So I spoke to the mayor about this, and I got with the superintendent. I just wanted to know how many kids on the east side could go to the west coast
We pay
school.
for it, and we're only
And
paying
20 to
to us.
25 kids is the number he gave me. Now, do I think 20, 25 children are going to cross there every day? No, but why
We
not
can always
have?
we can always cancel the assignment if it doesn't work. The simple fact is we've got a crossing guard that we're paying already. Put them out there for the first week. If no one shows
We
up,
already decided to do it.
we've decided to do
Yeah, you had this conversation, you already decided.
it. Yeah, let's do it. It's a done deal.
So I got the okay to extend it.
But it's 3 times.
Let's do it in one
It's not
Let's
twice.
Who's-
It's
hold
9 in the
on.
morning,
It's 3 times.
it's 3 times.
I'm lost here.
Oh, no, they don't care about the summer rec.
Are we just doing the summer school?
Mr. Root has a very good point. It wasn't brought to your attention that summer rec is now being held at the same facility that summer school is being held.
Okay.
Mr. Root's point is at 3 o'clock, there may be kids leaving again to go back to the east side.
But I was under the understanding that they'll have to be signed out by a parent. Now, they might
That's
be
what I'm
walking,
telling you, Russ.
but the parent may walk there to get them and walk home.
Yeah, the 3 o'clock, they're not leaving without somebody signing them out. You are right.
That's not an issue.
So it's not an issue. Okay. But they could physically show up there.
So we're not having crossing
No,
guard
not
at
at
3
3
o'clock?
No, because you're right, they have to be signed out.
Okay.
There was a lot of concern about letting kids just roam,
Okay, so we're not having crossing guard at 3.
not at 3.
Okay, so we're just having two.
Two.
Two times. All right.
Okay, and
I have a question.
Yes.
How are these parents being told this
that's
regarding the rules of the summer rec program? Because none of that is on the flyer.
I think that when they come to sign up on our application, we're gonna need them to we're gonna have to put a little more information on there to
Well,
clarify all
I'm
this.
going to have to give you all this, all about the food, because there's no food.
No food.
There's no food this year anymore either.
And now you're saying that they're gonna have, how do they, when they get in, will they have to sign them in and sign them out?
No.
How's it going to work?
Not to sign up.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
Everybody said that was stupid.
They're supposed to be just signed out, as per the, because, you know, anybody, they can come in. It's not the
They don't
security,
have to
once they
go.
get in, it's the security coming out. So it's going to be signed
You're
out.
gonna have to tell me what to give them, you know,
I
they're
will
not-
work on a, because we have the, isn't that like a 3, or like
Yeah,
a
it can't go
carbon?
on the application, because it's
Yeah.
already done, it's.
So we'll just have to
Give
set
them
up
a
another
sheet
sheet
with the
with all the
rules,
rules.
they have to
and
bring their
regulations.
own snacks, their own lunch,
Right.
and they will have
Well,
to
they're
be
only there
signed
for 3
out.
hours. I don't think they need to have lunch, you know, unless they stay through the program.
Correct, and that's.
Yeah, and Mr., but he made it clear to us that we don't want to be involved in the food business because he says that he'll handle that, and that was them telling us will deal with the food in their own way, signing in and out and things like that. The only issue that was brought up was the fact that it's now becoming a program where, what did he say? I mean, 30 kids on one side of town, you could have over 100 kids.
They used to have, back when I was in school,
Yeah.
they had a ton of kids.
All right, so the only other thing, okay, so just a question for the solicitor, since I got you here and I didn't ask you before, just because I don't know if anybody else is getting phone calls. The Cali Court bond, I'm under the impression, did we send him a letter saying we're going to maybe take his bond from him? He has not finished his homeowners association, he has not finished his.
anything about that.
You want to, after the meeting?
Maybe I think I had his stuff off.
Just a brief on an email use issue. I was wrongfully thinking that our email was part of our package. We paid $5 per person for email, so I want to make sure that when we have Borough email throughout the borough, that everyone is using their Borough email for two reasons. One, they are operable, because we're communicating, and you don't want to be operating your official email accounts. And if members aren't using them, like I said, if we're giving it to people who are not using it, we need to either stop giving it to them and save the money, or make them use it as that.
You're aware that I'm having a problem with that?
I am, and that's what brought this up.
I send my email out to every single one of them, they
I can
respond.
do that on my phone. But I can't do it on my computer.
My officer's been knocking them out.
So my phone, I'm able to text and email.
Did you do the program? Did you run me that?
I did.
Yeah, Joyce went down today, she had to do
I'm
hers.
gonna give you a new link. I'll
Well,
email you a link.
And other than that, does anybody have anything else? No? We're gonna go into closed session,
We're not coming back.
and we're not coming back. We're coming back, we're not doing any of the business. All right, we have resolution 1593, is a resolution authorizing mayor and council to enter into closed session to discuss personnel issues for approximately 30 minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Moore, second by
You don't
Ms.
need a roll call,
Kelly.
that's my fault.